From our 22 News Broadcast Center, this is 22 News in Focus. This week, an in-depth look at the MGM Springfield casino proposal. Here's Laura Hutchinson.
Good Sunday and welcome to 22 News in Focus. I'm Laura Hutchinson. MGM is the only gaming company left with a proposal to build a resort casino here in western Massachusetts. MGM Springfield has proposed an approximately $800 million resort casino that's slated to be built on a 14.5-acre of land parcel in Springfield's south end. They recently presented their full proposal to the Massachusetts Gaming Commission, and while things are moving, there's still a lot that needs to happen before shovels are put in the ground, and that's where 22 News in Focus comes in today. Today we're going to talk to Michael Mathis, the President and Chief Operating Officer of MGM Springfield. First off, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you coming out.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, and congratulations on the new title. That's actually a recent promotion. Good for you.
It is. Very excited. Been on the ground for 2 years, so this is a second home to me anyway. So
yeah.
It felt sort of natural and excited to continue the process.
So things are moving forward for MGM, and that's nice to see. You recently had your presentation in front of the Gaming Commission. I want to ask you, how did that go? First of all, that must be a nice moment to have that in the past. I know that was a big project for MGM.
It really was. It feels very good to have it behind us. We were very excited to finally have an opportunity to share with the Commission all the things that we've been sharing locally with Springfield and the different communities in Western Mass. So really 2 years in the making is the way I view that presentation, and it was collaborative, a lot of input from Springfield residents, a lot of input from other people we spoke to in the surrounding communities. So very nice item to check the box on, and we're excited about how it went.
What kind of feedback have you gotten so far, if anything? I guess, what are you hearing from either the Gaming Commission or the surrounding communities or even residents of Springfield? Have you gotten much feedback since the presentation?
We did. The day of the presentation, we were fortunate enough to have a lot of supporters from Springfield come out and view the presentation. And really, in a lot of ways, they're our most important audience as our partners in the host community agreement. And their reaction, I like to think we showed well and we made them proud of what it is that we presented. And the feedback we got from the commission the day of, as well as some of the press reports I've seen after, I think they thought it was very professional, very detail-oriented. So I like to think it's reflective of how we've conducted ourselves here in Springfield and in the western region.
Now, many of the people, and as this moves forward, many people are wondering what their new reality is going to be like, and wondering what the details of this proposal are. And we've seen a lot of the, in the media, we'll highlight some of the major points, but not everybody knows some of the nitty-gritty details. What are some things that people might not know about here in Springfield that is included in this proposal that you were able to talk about at that presentation?
I think one of the aspects that gets glossed over, and there's so much material that's part of the presentation, is about our customer database, which we really rely on. We've got 60 million customers in total in our database, and in our view, we've got a lot of pent-up demand in the Northeast. Mm-hmm. We don't have a flag here, so to speak, and I look forward to being able to tap into our existing customers, who we probably are a pretty good referral service to some of the competitors that are currently in the market because they don't have an MGM mm-hmm. type facility. So I think that's one of the things I look forward to, is being able to expose Springfield and Western Massachusetts to some of the customers in New England that maybe haven't been here in a while. So that's an important piece of our marketing strategy. Mm-hmm. And one of the other things that sort of has evolved most recently in our design is our outdoor entertainment plaza. We've developed a really unique and dynamic space. We've got a skating rink that's based on the Rockefeller Center dimensions, on the model, yeah. And we've got a lot of outdoor entertainment that we're planning. So I think there's a great opportunity to bring the community down together in the outdoor space, summer, winter, farmers markets in the summer, and different things like that. So I'm looking forward to it being a place where the community meets and enjoys each other and enjoys the resort. And I've been down to your office there in downtown Springfield, and there actually is a little 3D model and an opportunity to see what the proposal actually is and be able to talk to people there. Is that an opportunity that people have been taking advantage of? I'd imagine more people will as the actual
actual time gets closer.
Yeah, it has. I've really enjoyed watching different residents come through the space and look at the model. They talk about the buildings that used to be there. They talk about when they used to walk up and down the street and the different stores that used to line Main Street. So it's a great way to interact with the design and get some really good feedback from a lot of longtime residents in Springfield. So it's really good that we have it, and it's a great centerpiece.
You must be feeling pretty good right now. I don't know how confident you were going into this process or how confident MGM as a whole was, but now that you've seen how many communities have rejected casinos in their communities, West Springfield and Palmer here in Western Mass, of course you were chosen over Penn National in Springfield, and then all the communities in Eastern Mass that have had a difficult time actually passing this. Are you kind of surprised by how this has gone for some other communities? And I don't know what MGM has done differently, but how are you feeling after seeing all of those proposals go down the drain, basically?
Well, it's really been a mixed bag. Obviously, there are other applicants who are up for a license, so those host communities passed those applicants. I think every community is unique, every proposal is unique, so we certainly watched with interest what the competitive landscape looked like in Western Massachusetts, but I can't say that I'm surprised. It takes a lot of work. It validates all the work that we've done. You've got to come in early from our perspective. You've got to listen to the community. A good chunk of our design was not developed before we had some of the neighborhood meetings and talked to residents in open houses. And I think if you haven't done that work, and I can't say one way or another whether those applicants did that work, but it takes a lot of communication, and everything's got to go right. You've got to be the right company, right project for the right community. Well,
one thing we've seen is you've certainly built a strong relationship with both Mayor Sarno and number of other community leaders in Springfield, and that's been nice to see. But there's a lot more going on. There's a lot going on with the surrounding communities, and also a little legal activity there with some people looking to repeal the law. So a couple more things I want to talk about.
Sure.
But we will take a short break, and we're going to talk about lawsuits and the surrounding communities after this. So stay with us. You're watching 22 News in Focus. You're watching 22 News in Focus. We are talking about MGM Springfield today, about their proposal to bring a resort-style casino to Springfield's South End. Joining us once again, we have Michael Mathis, President and Chief Operating Officer of MGM Springfield. The Gaming Commission is planning to award the licenses this spring, and within 30 days, the winning casino must pay the state $85 million for the non-refundable license fee. But there is a movement to repeal the 2011 casino legislation and put a measure on the 2014 ballot for Massachusetts voters. And MGM and several other gaming commissions certainly stand to lose a lot if something like that were to go through. So I once again thank you for being here and answering these questions with us. What is your viewpoint on that process? There's a lot of money at stake here. What are your thoughts on, just that there are a group of residents looking to overturn this law?
It's concerning, and it's disappointing that the message of all the economic development and what it means to bring a great industry like hospitality, which includes gaming, but includes hotel, includes all kinds of aspects, that message hasn't gotten through to a good group of people that are behind the repeal effort. But it's more than just about our company, which is certainly we've expended a lot of hours and time and resources and money here on the ground, as well as all the other applicants that have, but it's also about the host communities that we've come into and the promise of economic redevelopment. A day doesn't go by when I'm here in Springfield where I'm not approached by somebody who wants to talk about jobs. And for those of us that have a job, I think we take for granted what it means to a community that has such high levels of unemployment as Western Mass does in different pockets, about what 3,000 direct jobs that our project would bring, 2,000 construction jobs. You multiply that by 2 or 3 based on the other applicants, and then all the indirect jobs that come with it. To me, it'd be really tragic if this whole process got overturned, given how far we've come as a group. Do you think that a repeal would go through? Have you sort of worked out the different scenarios, and do you think that something like this could possibly go through? Well, procedurally, I think the first hurdle or the first step is the Supreme Judicial Court is going to rule on this. As you may know, the Attorney General has already rendered an opinion on the petition. They've rejected it based on the fact, in layman terms, that it's in some ways it's too late and it's a taking. This process is underway. A lot of our companies and a lot of these host communities have relied on this promise of economic development, and it would constitute a taking this far into the process to say, pack your bags and leave. We spent tens of millions of dollars as a company, as has all the other applicants, I assume, and really we've come into these communities and worked on economic development, workforce development. There's a promise of economic development that's there. So I like to believe that it will be rejected by the courts, and then if it passed the courts, I would like to believe that it will be rejected by the voters. I think there's polling out there that it shows that it's favored by most residents of the Commonwealth. So this has been passed by the legislature, and I think it's time to get to work.
Now, would you still be? Do you know when you're going to be hearing some of these rulings? Because I know that there's that deadline for that application fee that's non-refundable as well. I mean, how willing is MGM to continue moving forward, knowing that this kind of hangs? I mean, do you think you're going to hear something from the court sooner than that before it comes time to put up all that money? Yeah,
it's an important question. We've raised our concerns with the commission. There, as you mentioned, following the award of a license, which we hope to receive, there is a requirement to pay a non-refundable, in our case, $85 million fee. In the case of the slot operator, a $25 million non-refundable fee. I don't think anybody would expect any company, including ours, which is a publicly traded company, we owe a duty to our shareholders to invest those kinds of dollars and put them at risk. Right. And that's really why I believe that's why the Attorney General ruled the way they did, which is that it would be unfair and it constitute a taking to try to reverse what's already gone on. So we're following it. We're trying to make sure that we protect ourselves, but we're heavily invested in this project, not just financially, but we want to get this project open and deliver the promise of the economic development. So we're going to keep trucking along on a parallel track and make sure we get it done. And
as far as surrounding communities go, I know that you have a number of them already established. There are a few others, Northampton, Longmeadow, and Hamden, that are petitioning to become a surrounding community. Where do you stand in that process right now?
Well, we just had a hearing before the commission. I think it's really important to note all the agreements we did get done with our budding communities. We tried very hard to avoid an adversarial process in front of the commission. Unfortunately, there are 3 communities that believe that they're a surrounding community, and we had to demonstrate before the commission. Both sides provided data to try to support their cases. Ultimately, we believe at the end of the day that all of the budding communities are going to be positively impacted by the economic development by having a company such as ours that brings in jobs and brings in vendor spending and brings in new tourism into the market. So we agree to disagree with those communities, and we'll let the commission ultimately make the ruling on that.
And what's interesting to know is that I don't think I've heard of another state actually doing these surrounding communities. So you have reached agreements with some of the direct abutting, then you have these others who are petitioning for. But in actuality, this is not something that's standard for casinos, right? Looking into it, this is not something that's gone on in other communities that MGM has been a part of, right?
It really isn't. It's very unique, and I think there's some aspects of it that are very progressive in the Gaming Act that call out some of this. Some of the dialogue that you should be having naturally. I think we would naturally have a dialogue with our surrounding communities because that's where our customers are going to come from. That's where our employees are going to come from. That's where a lot of our vendors and suppliers are going to come from. But it's very unique to have it in this process where there is a technical process and there is deadlines, and it really forces a conversation and dialogue that in a lot of cases is premature. We haven't even won the license. And I think some of the economic development that will come will have allayed the concerns of some of these communities. But we respect everybody's rights to make sure that their communities are protected. If I was a resident of those communities, I would want the same. So it is what it is, and we continue to have a good dialogue. Even the ones that we're in an adversarial process with, we continue to talk with, and I think at the end of the day, we'll be partners just as we are with our host community.
And do you know when you'll actually hear a ruling for those communities, Northampton, Longmeadow, and Hamden? Do you have any kind of timeline for that?
Yeah, we've been told by the commission they'll make a ruling at the end of next week.
Okay, very good. There's still a lot more to talk about, and many people are wondering when those shovels are going to get in the ground and when they can start applying for jobs. So we'll talk about that.
So are we.
Yeah, okay, we'll talk about that after the break. Stay with us. We'll continue our conversation with Mike Mathis. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Welcome back to 22 News in Focus. We've been discussing today MGM Springfield's presentation to the Massachusetts Gaming Commission, as well as the possibility of a repeal of the gaming legislation with a ballot question in November. Joining us to talk all about this, we have Michael Mathis, President and Chief Operating Officer of MGM Springfield. Thank you again for being here. We've covered a lot of ground, but there are a lot of big questions people still want answers to, and that's, so when do you think the shovels are going to get in the ground? Should this process move forward as it appears to be going?
Sure. We're hopeful, and we don't want to be presumptuous about the award of the license. We made our presentation, and the commission made clear that they're going to read all 7,000 pages of our application and any follow-up questions. But if we are fortunate enough to win the license, we believe that'll happen early summer. And we've already been using this time to make sure that our design is fully developed, that we've got permitting packages ready to go. So we would be active on the site over the summer, early fall. Mm-hmm. And it'll be great to do that because you'll start to see some of the construction activity, and we'll be putting people to work, mm-hmm. which is the point of the statute and part of why we want to bring this project here. So
when would people be able to start applying for jobs, look at some of the jobs available? When does that sort of thing happen?
Sure. We'll, initially it'll be focused on development, so it'll be very construction related, but we'll be ramping up our pre-opening and over time building up our staff. I think the largest amount of hires will happen in the year leading up to opening, but certainly before that we'll be starting to do some of our hiring. So we'll have employee fairs. Our website will become more robust, and we'll start accepting applications and actively recruiting in the market. And there's a whole workforce development effort that we'll be partnering with different organizations on, because hospitality in a lot of ways is new to this market, and we want to make sure that we use the 2 to 3 years of development time to build up training processes and partners and make sure the workforce is ready to take advantage of the positions. And have you already put out bids for contractors, for construction, that sort of thing? No, not quite. I think we're in the pre-qualification period. Okay. We're talking to different contractors in the market, understanding who is in the market. So the dialogue has begun, but we'll quickly transition into pre-construction and bidding. Okay. And how many of those companies and how many of your employees do you think will be local from Western Mass or Springfield or the region? Yeah, as you may know, we were very specific in the host community agreement. Mayor Sarno and his team, including Kevin Kennedy and Ed Pikula, wanted to make sure that some of these commitments that we had discussed were in writing and in the contract. So we've made a commitment to 1/3 of our jobs being from Springfield residents, which should be over 1,000 jobs. And then generally for the region, we've committed to 90%. So we would envision bringing 10% of our employees from outside of the market, individuals like myself that have some of the specialized casino experience. Mm-hmm. But really, this is a local project, and there's enough unemployment and we think qualified people in the market that we can draw from here locally. Mm-hmm. And how about the restaurants and vendors and shops that are going to be a part of the proposal? Have you started, do you have a game plan as to who's going to be in there? Have you started to think about that? Any of the local businesses that might move in there, or how does that work? Yeah, we have. Our approach is a balanced, sort of diverse approach. So we want a couple of nationally recognized retailers and restaurateurs so that we can draw outside of the market. Similarly, we're going to have sort of a regional flair, maybe a restaurateur from Boston or so to bring some of that market into Western Mass. but then really the local flair of it, we talked to La Fiorentina, for example. You know, we've been eating at that bakery since we landed in town.
Okay.
So there's going to be a local representation as well, and we'll finalize those as it moves forward. Everybody's waiting for the award of the license, so that there's actually something very specific to discuss and negotiate.
That's right. I know we all like to jump ahead and know when, though.
That's right.
So when do you envision MGM Springfield complete? You know, if the license is awarded and the shovels, you know, you start maybe this summer, you were talking.
Yeah.
When do you see this complete?
We've been projecting late 2016 or early 2017. It's approximately a 2.5-year build out from when we are awarded the license and start breaking ground. So it'll happen sooner than people can imagine, and it'll be exciting when you start seeing the building go up, because our construction folks are so good at getting these things up and going quickly. And
is there going to be any kind of community gatherings again, just to answer some questions as this moves forward? You know, if they do have questions about traffic still, are there anything like that planned that would give them the opportunity to get some of those answers? Sometimes people don't tune in until they know it's a reality.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, there will be. We haven't planned it all out, but we want to stay really engaged with the community, provide updates. We owe the city quarterly updates, for example, but that's really by contract. I think we're going to want to stay engaged and make sure we're delivering on the promises that we've made. So I would expect a lot of community engagement throughout the process.
Okay, and I think you were asked this at the Gaming Commission, but are you buying a house in Springfield? Are you moving to the area?
I'm looking at a bunch of different communities, including Springfield, and a lot of great choices. So excited to be back in New England and have my family out here. You know, they'll end up making the decision if Dad's the last guy to actually make the decisions at home. So very excited about spending some time here, and notwithstanding the weather outside.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Western Mass is a very nice place to be. So it's nice to have you here for this interview, and we look forward to moving in soon. Thank you so much.
You're
really
welcome.
Appreciate you coming on and answering some of our questions for us. Mike Mathis is going to stay with us. We're going to have the last word for you after the break. You're watching 22 News in Focus. You're watching 22 News in Focus. We just spent the last half hour talking to Michael Mathis from MGM Springfield, all about plans to bring a casino to Western Massachusetts. We talked about MGM Springfield's presentation to the Mass Gaming Commission. We talked about the latest with the surrounding communities and lawsuits surrounding an effort to repeal the gaming law. We also talked about MGM Springfield's timeline for opening a casino should they be awarded the Western Mass license. That is our program for today. We want to thank Mr. Mathis for joining us today, and we want to thank you at home for watching. If you've missed any of it, you can watch it in full on our website at wwlp.com. From all of us here at 22 News, we wish you a wonderful Sunday. Take care.